Today, we have a panel of experts ready to discuss what do you gain by super syncing FinOps and IT. Our two experts today include John Nguyen, software sales leader at DSS, who has joined us in the nick of time with his audio working in tip-top shape, and Jared Wright, digital technical specialist and manager at IBM. Okay, yes, oops, we have our photos as well. Very good. We brought together these thought leaders to discuss the challenges and lost opportunities arising from disconnected FinOps, otherwise known as financial operations, IT, and overall strategic processes. We invite you to take part in this conversation, which will last about 30 minutes plus Q&A. At any time during this discussion, you can post your questions or comments in the Q&A chat. One of the two co-hosts will monitor and showcase some of the questions to propel the discussion further. However, just a general reminder to please be respectful and appropriate with your questions and comments. My co-host Gil is also here to monitor the chat. All right.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, Gil. Thank you. Okay. If you can't stay for the full event, you can always watch the replay and set up a one-on-one with any of the experts speaking today. You'll get a call after the event from a member of our team to gather your feedback, complete your 1-minute voice verification, and set up your appointment if you want one. Okay. Now, without any further ado, let's kick off today's discussion by asking 3 big questions and then revealing some industry statistics. Okay. So why don't we start here? Okay. All right. Just adding that there. And let's start. Our first question that we have to drive today's discussion is, how costly is the lack of transparency and control? And the team here at BeTechly, we did some homework and we found some industry statistics about the cost of cloud expenditures and the average cloud budget that's going to waste, and some numbers here. 42% of CIOs and CTOs consider cloud waste a top challenge, as we can see here. So to address this question, to address some of these findings, we'd like to ask our panelists right now, Jared, John, whoever would like to take a stab at this question. How costly is the lack of transparency control? You can take it away, Jared.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you, Jake. We appreciate you organizing things for us today, and I'd like to offer my own welcome for everybody that's attending. I think the nature of this question is well suited for Jared, given that he is truly an expert in this area, both from a user perspective and also from a supplier perspective. So Jared, I'll let you take this away.
Yeah, no worries. So thanks, and glad everybody could be here today. Yeah, so I've got a little bit of a unique perspective, being, where I did actually run my own data centers and cloud spend, and then also now where I work with IBM and I help customers manage their cloud costs and their on-prem costs. And it really is ridiculously expensive if you allow it to just kind of go unchecked without transparency or accountability. Because here's the deal: the name of the game for any company is to make sure that your applications perform at a high level at all times. And the easiest way to do that is to make sure that it's over provisioned at all times. Because if you don't have a resource issue, then you're going to perform. And so with that in mind, a lot of companies, ones that I've worked at and then ones that I work with today, they'll just throw resources at any issue to make sure that their applications perform, because that's the name of the game. If your applications aren't performing, you've got the blue spinning wheel of death that is plagues us all from time to time. It usually comes back to a resource contention issue at some point in time. And so you just give more resources. And if it's in the cloud, then that's, your monthly cloud bill is going, astronomically higher. And if it's on-prem, then you're purchasing more hardware than necessary. So I think that this is a big thing that we see from top level, C-level executives all the way down to, to the infrastructure level. We're seeing this happen. So. John, what do you see when you're talking to customers?
Yeah, well, so thanks, Jared. I think I would add from, a business perspective, and I'm sure for those there's probably a number that have joined the webinar that understand this, as you're making that transition to the cloud, if you're moving into a multi-cloud or a hybrid environment, it even becomes more complex. And the challenges of having true visibility and be able to account for and allocate cloud costs to the appropriate either organization or individuals is critically important. And I think as we've experienced on calls ourselves with customers and prospects, has been a real challenge in some instances, and clearly an area of focus, particularly for those that are starting to develop their own FinOps operations within their organizations, right? That seems to be a real driver for them.
Oh, I was on mute. Okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you for your responses and insights into this question. We'll move on to our next question and some industry findings. Okay. Oops. What operational efficiency gains come from FinOps tools? Again, the team here looked at some statistics, okay? As these FinOps tools are a way to rein in waste by improving visibility and collaboration. 89% of executives view this. Wow, 96% acknowledge the strength of FinOps. FinOps, again, being financial operations, where finance and operations are actually working together. And an insight here in the lower left, we see here that many have started their first steps of their FinOps journey, but nearly half are yet to take action. So, John, Jared, whoever would like to take a first swing at covering FinOps as a strategy.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. Well, it maybe segues from my last response. I think if you look, there may be data that was presented prior to the webinar, or even it's embedded in here about where you can see efficiency gains. And generally across the organization, it's the kind of numbers you see that come out from industry studies is that, there's like a 30+% over allocation of resources. And so for those organizations that can adopt and implement FinOps tools, there's that kind of savings potentially be realized, or you might even think of it in terms of efficiencies. And it really, a lot of it is driven, as Jared had mentioned earlier, and again, I'm sure everybody is familiar with, is this the natural inclination to over provision resources, right? Whether you're talking about cloud or even from a data center, and that's where using modern FinOps tools or application resource management tools, you can really start to not only see gain visibility, but also move into automation, right? For a lot of particularly when it comes to application resources. And I know this is something that Jared is very familiar with, so I'll toss it over to him.
Yes, I actually really like this question specifically because the FinOps journey is something that most companies go through, and because it's super important. Without a FinOps strategy, then again, your cloud waste, even your on-prem waste, it can get out of hand. And as you start that journey, a lot of times what ends up happening is you get one of your engineers or your DevOps folks to start tracking things with spreadsheets, right? You start having this spreadsheet sprawl where you're tracking all of the instance types if you're in the cloud, or you're tracking utilization of your hardware if you're on-prem, and you're constantly having to do this balancing act of, well, are we using everything that we have here? Is it appropriate? Do we need to grow? What does our patterns look like? And you're usually utilizing people whose skill set is something very different to track this in a manual way through spreadsheets and whatnot. And that's usually the first couple of steps when you start taking your FinOps journey. And then you start getting into the tools where you can be really efficient. You can have intelligence. You can have even AI help you as you're managing these things. And I don't know if you guys dabble with cloud very much, but there are so many different instance types that are out there in AWS or Azure or Google that managing those in and of itself is hard. And then if you start introducing RIs into that, and you start trying to fit those puzzle pieces together to try to make sure that you're utilizing your spend and keeping it down and utilizing it to the best of your ability, it really becomes like herding cats. If I'm being honest, it's really hard, and trying to keep them all in order is tough when you're trying to do it manually without FinOps tools. So the efficiency gains that you get from those FinOps tools is the intelligent data to make sure that you're responsible with your cloud spend, but then also you get your team's time back, where they're not having to try to manage it manually with spreadsheets and whatnot, and they can actually be repurposed to take on bigger and better projects and tasks for your organization. So it really does become a really big benefit for every company that decides to take their journey further into the actual FinOps tools, as opposed to trying to manually do it themselves.
All right, well, thank you for that. We can move on to our third question right now. How do FinOps tools impact collaboration and planning? And again, we have found some interesting stats here. I guess some good news is that the top priorities for both finance and IT or engineering teams are closely aligned already. So that's great. And here we have some numbers about respondents about attention to budgeting and reducing waste. So perhaps we can even go into a little bit about what should be some features of certain FinOps tools that organizations should explore if they're going to consider moving ahead with their FinOps journey today. So, John, Jared.
Well, I'll go ahead and start, and I know it may sound like kind of a oversimplification, but with today's FinOps tools, as you put up here, you're showing kind of two broad organizations, right? Finance and engineering, and I really do believe that the nature of some of today's FinOps tools helps close that gap, right? It allows the engineering teams, whether it be DevOps or whomever else, whether you're talking about development or production, to really get a sense of how their activities are impacting the organization from a cost standpoint, right? Once you gain that visibility, and of course the finance people love that, or department heads that own the budget, really want to be able to get their arms around it, and the tools that can provide that type of visibility, I believe, goes a long way in getting everybody on the same page, right? With regards to setting priorities and allocating budget and understanding where cloud spend is really impacting the organization. And again, where you can see some efficiencies. Jared, anything to add to that?
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head there. And this question is a good one, right? Because it talks about the impact of collaboration and planning. And a lot of times, like you said, the financial team and then the engineering team, they're speaking two completely different languages when it comes to cloud, right? So having a tool that can help bridge that gap in communication and help everybody be on the same page with what they're looking at and what the goals are, really helps to narrow that gap and allow you to speak the same language and make you get to, like I said, the end, where I talked to the beginning about making sure your applications perform at a high level at all times. And so I think it's just really important. And then from the planning perspective, having a tool that can help you accurately with intelligence plan for the future, as opposed to guessing and trying to forecast through manual methods, it just brings an efficiency that just can't be done with spreadsheets and manual planning. And I've seen it time and time again, that in my own career, in my own infrastructure, and then also, like I said, with my companies that we're helping today. It's really astounding the amount of waste that is built into environments to make sure that you don't have performance issues. And when you have those intelligent planning features and intelligent optimization features, then it really does narrow the spend and really get you healthy from a FinOps perspective. So I think it's super important, and it really does a good job of bringing those organizations together, the financial and the engineering. So cool.
All right, sure. Of course, collaboration is never a bad thing. So it's always good to have that.
No.
No, never a bad thing. All right.